All right, so gonna kind of outline how this toxin project is going to work. Obviously, it's in the stream already. Okay, um, when you open it up, there's the outline sheet, which I'm going to be going over here, so you can look at that when you need to. Okay, it basically just outlines what you're going to have to do, and then you have a choice. Okay, you can either do this as like a Google Slides, as like PowerPoint, okay, kind of presentation kind of thing, or you can do it as a strict report in a Google Doc. All right, whichever one you choose to do, just delete the other one. Right, so you're not submitting two files and then I'm looking at it going, okay, which one am I marking? Okay, just submit whichever one you're going to want marked in the end. Okay, all right, so the idea of the Toxin project is this. We want to kind of review and apply some of the stuff we learned in the chemistry unit. So to do that, okay, you can research a toxic chemical of your choice. This essentially has two parts. The first part is probably the easiest part, and that is, tell me about the chemical. All right, what kind of chemical is it? Is it ionic? Is it molecular, acidic, basic? Okay, all those kind of chemical things about them, about that toxin, and how it affects the human body. What does it do to the person? Okay, all of that kind of stuff. All the kind of technical, sciencey stuff. Okay, that's the first half. Okay, the second half, and it does need to be equal parts, is the societal effects of your toxic chemical. This is a little bit tougher because you got to think a little bit more. You're not always going to outright find the answers, okay, for what the societal effects of a toxic chemical can be. You sometimes just have to think about those. Okay, you can find some of it, but you'll have to think some of it up as well. Okay, so like it says here, you're going to examine the effect of long-term exposure to a toxic chemical. That includes not only the health effects of the chemical on the people exposed, but again, the societal costs as well. Okay, that's things like healthcare, taxation, government regulations, okay, etc. Impacts of people using or being exposed to the chemical. Okay, that would include behavioral costs, okay, addiction treatment, emotional impacts, okay, things like that. Because lots of drugs, obviously, are toxic chemicals, all right, and the use of drugs has all kinds of societal effects. Okay? So things to think about in terms of societal effects, especially to do with healthcare. What pays for healthcare? Taxes. Okay? In Canada, that's how it works. Obviously, it works differently in other places, but in Canada, we have publicly funded healthcare. Right? That's why half of your paycheck goes to taxes. Right? It pays for education, it pays for healthcare, it pays for roads and all that infrastructure and all that kind of stuff. Okay? In Alberta alone, healthcare costs $1 billion a day. Okay? It's huge. All right? The more we use it, obviously, the more it costs. Okay? But it's awfully nice to know that if I get sick or my son gets sick, okay, that I can go to the hospital and get him looked after and not be financially ruined. That's not the case everywhere. Okay? If you go to the States, okay, that can happen. Right? You spend a couple of days in the hospital and you get a bill for like $25,000. Okay? It's a lot of money to be in the hospital. Right? We're lucky in Canada, that's all covered. Okay? We don't have to worry about it. We believe it's important to take care of each other when we're sick. Okay? That's a good thing. All right, other things. Okay? Behavioral costs. That could include like the incarceration of people who have committed crimes related to their behaviors while using toxic chemicals. Okay, everyone kind of follow me there? That means putting them in jail. Jails cost money. Okay, you have to build them. You have to pay all the people to keep the people in them. Okay, guards and whatever else. There's lots of administration. They cost money. Okay, treatment centers, things like that. All of that stuff costs money. Okay, and that all comes from us. That is society in general. Okay, other things to think about. Let's say, like if you're looking at the effect of maybe alcohol. Okay, people who drink and drive cause car accidents. Okay, that's got its own healthcare costs, but it also now goes into insurance costs. Okay, I have to pay for vehicle insurance. Right? I've never had an impaired because I'm not stupid and I don't drink and drive. Okay, but at the same time, people who do get in accidents cause injuries, and everybody's insurance rates go up. That's a societal cost. Does that sort of make sense? These are the things we need to think about. It's a lot of outside the box thinking. Okay, how can these things have an effect on society in general. Okay. All right. So what we're looking at here is that we want to obviously have an examination of the health issues. Certainly, that's part of the sciencey chemical part of it. Okay, but also the societal effects as well. Okay, what are the costs to me as a person who isn't directly affected by this thing? All right, so I didn't get like lead poisoning, yet it somehow indirectly affects me. That's a societal effect. Okay. So some suggestions for your project could be health hazards related to excessive consumption of alcohol and nicotine or other drugs. Okay, exposure to toxic substances, that can happen in the workplace. Okay, if you work in certain environments, you could be exposed to, like, let's say, hydrogen sulfide. Right? Anyone who works in the oil field has to take their H2S course, okay? Because hydrogen sulfide is a corrosive toxic gas that can be associated with lots of forms of petroleum and natural gas and things like that. It's very dangerous. You inhale it, it burns your lungs, and you can die. Right? So these are things that you could be exposed to. Okay? All right. Environmental concerns related to handling, storage, disposal of heavy metals, strong acids, flammable gases, or any other topic you've got interest in. If you're not really sure, just Google toxic chemicals and see if anything kind of tickles your fancy in terms of I might want to research that. I have a question. But no, I mean, if there's some people doing the same one, that's fine. I'm not going to make sure that everybody's doing something different. No, you're just going to submit it to me. All right, so the project outline, okay, you're going to report on the chemical nature of your toxin, okay, what type of chemical is it? Is it ionic, molecular, organic? So maybe it's produced by a plant or in nature, okay. How is its chemical structure related to its toxicity? Like if it's an acid, right, then it would have hydrogen ions that come off of it and make solutions acidic, or maybe it's got some part of it that, causes nerves to break down or whatever. Okay, you talk about how is it toxic. Okay, how does it cause damage to human tissue? So if I am exposed to this stuff, I develop giant lesions on my skin, or I get little lines on my fingernails. Okay, whatever it happens to be. What are the effects of it? Okay, so what are its toxic effects, and what are the symptoms a victim may exhibit? In terms of the societal effects, we've talked about those. The area is more open. Things to explore may be whether exposure to the toxin is by choice, or if it's in the workplace or in nature, there's nothing you can do about it. Okay, what are the costs? And by costs, I do not mean a dollar figure. It's going to be really hard to find that, and I don't want you to find that. In terms of costs, I mean, if this person ends up sick, who pays for that? Okay, that's a societal cost. If this happens, who pays for that? Okay, those are societal costs. Even though I might not be directly affected by it, it still costs me. Okay, those are societal costs. All right, so we could be looking at load on hospitals. Somebody, has a heroin overdose, they end up in the emergency room, and I'm in there because I haven't been able to keep solid food down for 4 days, okay, and I'm sick and I feel terrible, but because this person went and overdosed on something, they get in ahead of me because they'll die and I won't. Okay, that's load on hospitals. That's a societal effect. Okay, I didn't overdose, but it affected me because now I have to feel sick longer because somebody made a bad choice and they got in ahead of me because they're going to die and I'm not. Okay. That's a societal effect. Okay, man hours lost to illness. That's a business thing. Okay, it costs money for people to be sick. Prime example: if I'm sick and don't come to work, what do they get? They get a sub. I still get paid. Okay, I have a certain number of sick days, paid sick days, so I would still get paid even though I wasn't here. But they would also pay my sub. So essentially, it costs twice as much to have class that day. Right? That's man hours lost to illness. That costs money. All right. Okay. Treatment centers. We got to build, an MRI clinic or whatever. All of that comes from taxpayer money. Okay. So what are those costs to our society in general? Does the government have regulations related to this toxin? Are there exposure limits? Do you have to be a certain age to get it? Okay. Can you get it at all? Right. When we order chemicals for the lab, okay, we have to send in like scanned versions of our passports, because we order enough ammonium nitrate to be put on the list for CSIS. Okay, that's the Canadian Security and Intelligence Services, the ones who are like Homeland Security, to make sure we're not making bombs. Okay, like we get put on a list that says this guy ordered a large amount of something that can be used to make bombs. Okay, and so that's a societal cost, right? That means that I have to be on file with CSIS. Okay, I can't go off the grid now. They know where I am. Okay. All right. Is it legal to possess it? Are there disposal requirements? Those yucky buckets that we put all of our chemicals in after the lab, every year we have to package those up and send them to Swan Hills for disposal. Okay, you can't just put that down the sink. Okay, it gets in the river and there'll be fish with 5 eyes. Okay, so that's bad stuff. Okay, and then lastly, a short paragraph about your opinion based on what you've read about the chemical nature of this stuff and its societal effects. Okay, what are your feelings on it? Is it something that there should be more of, less of? Should it be banned? Should there be regulations, taxation, whatever? Okay, put on it. That's just your opinion. All right. In order to do this properly, okay, you're going to have your basically your report. Okay, that's half the chemical part, half the societal part, and then you have to cite your references. So at the end of your report, you're going to have what's called a bibliography, and that is where you put all the places you got your information. There is a specific way you have to cite this. You can't just write www.google.com. Google is not where you found the information. You used Google to find the websites where you found the information. You have to cite the person whose information you used. Here's how you do that. Okay, so on your sheet there, okay, this is the proper way to cite a website. So you have to find this information on the websites you use, or at least do your very best to find it. You can't always find it. All right. First thing, author's name. Probably the hardest thing, ironically, for you to find. There's a lot of people out there who just want to have an anonymous blog, okay, where they vent and say crap, okay, like, you know, Crackpot Joe's blog about crack, okay, yeah, like, I don't know if that's really a thing, but okay, a lot of people just put a lot of crap out there. All right, probably not the most credible website. I mean, Crackpot Joe might know a lot about crack, but I mean, it might not be all like right. Okay, so consider where you get your information from. If it's from like a government website or a university website, it's probably pretty credible, right? But if it's from some anonymous guy's blog, it's probably not as credible. Okay, make sure you're getting credible information. On that note, Wikipedia, just avoid it completely. Okay, because Wikipedia is so far behind on their fact checking, they think they're in front of their fact checking. Okay, anybody can put crap on Wikipedia. Okay, and they have to go back and verify, and now they rely on Average Joe to verify, which is stupid because Average Joe doesn't know anything. Okay, so, and I'll give you an example here, but a few years ago, I had a student who did their project on crystal meth. And in Wikipedia, it actually said, history of crystal methamphetamine. Adolf Hitler died of a crystal meth overdose. Said that right in Wikipedia. Adolf Hitler died of an acute case of trigger pulled while Luger in face. Okay, he killed himself. He shot himself in the head. Okay, he didn't die of crystal meth overdose. Okay, crystal meth had barely been developed by 1944. Right, so yeah, there's a lot of stuff on Wikipedia that's not right. So I would just avoid it because it's too hard to check whether you got good info or not. On the basic stuff, like if you're looking up the chemical formula or something like that, sure, it's probably reliable enough for that. Okay, but going beyond any of that, I wouldn't trust Wikipedia for that. Okay. So name of the author, the date that the article was posted. If you can't find the date the article was posted, the last day the site it's on was updated will do fine. Okay, but you should be able to find one or the other of those. Hopefully your information is newer than this, because this is before you were born, significantly. Okay. Then the name of the article. This one was called Vive le Quebec, Vive le Canada for whatever reason. Okay, so that's the name of the article. Then the name of the website. So the name of the website was the Daily News. Then you put the URL. So www.IamGivingThisPersonCreditAndNotPlagiarizingTheirStuff.com. Okay. Then the day you accessed it. So if you access it today, that's March 13th, okay, 2018. All right, that's the information that needs to be there. If your references are missing any of that information, it's going to cost you marks, okay, in the references section. So you need to find as much of that information as possible and have it in this format. Author's name, date the article was posted, name of the article, name of the website, URL of the article, and the day you accessed it. The most common thing I see when people hand this in is I see a list of 5 URLs. And that's it. Okay, that will flat out get you a 0 on the research part of this. Okay, I'm telling you that right now. Okay, you might as well make them all www.ididn'tlistentomrcoderre.com, www.imwillinglytaking0 out of 5 on this.com. Okay, make sure you cite these properly. Okay, this is the format for them. All right, so 5 marks of this is the references cited. You need to have at least 5 references. That won't be hard. You'll need more than that most likely to do a good job of this. You are going to get 5 marks for planning. Okay, I'm going to want to see 2 things for planning. Okay, I'm going to want to see either a thought web or an outline. All right, so if you like webs, then make a thought web. You put your toxin in the middle and bubbles off of that for whatever it is you're going to talk about. Or if you're more of a linear thinker, okay, paragraph 1, talk about this, paragraph 2, talk about this, paragraph 3, talk about this, whatever. I need to see something that said, I thought about how I was going to assemble this. The second thing I need to see is a timeline. So when do you plan to work on this? Okay, write it down. All right, today, right, March 13th, okay, started research. Okay, so that's what you're going to start with. Okay, and then you can say March 14th, continued research, started assembly of report. And then whatever other days you're going to work on. You're going to get today and tomorrow in class, that's it. Okay, the rest of it you got to do on your own. It's due in 2 weeks, by the way. Okay. So you got to plan that out. Okay, if you forget to do that, fake it at the end. Just write down all the days you worked on it. If you're not going to plan ahead, just write in the timeline when you sat down and did work on it. That's fine with me too, as long as I see that you've sat down and did it all. Okay, so those are the 2 things. That's an easy 5 marks, a web or outline and a timeline. 5 marks if you have those 2 things. Okay, easy 5 marks. People forget it all the time. Okay, don't forget those. Those are 5 easy marks. Okay, the format of this. Okay, obviously you can do this either as a Google Slides presentation or as a Google Doc, a strict report, whichever way makes more sense to you is fine. Okay, what you need to understand is that the length of this is a word count. One way, regardless of which way you do it, the word count is between 800 and 1,000 words. That is the bare minimum. You will probably not get 100% with an 800 word project. It is very difficult to do a good job with 800 words. You could do a sufficient job to pass with 800 words. Okay, a good job would be like, let's say 1,200 to 1,500 words. So you have some idea. In Google Sheets with the default margins, default font size, single space, that's 1.5 pages. About 1,500 words, about 1.5 pages. It's not a lot. It sounds like a lot when you say 1,500 words, okay, but it doesn't take much to get to 1,500 words. Okay, less than that, and you're just not going to be able to cover everything you need. At the same time, I do have to mark all of these. I do not want a 10,000 word thesis project either, okay, because I'll probably get bored and stop reading. Okay, so 1,500 good, 2,000 getting kind of long, 5,000 Coderre's not reading all of that. Okay, all right. So the 5 places where you're going to get marked: initiating and planning, we talked about that. That's the timeline and outline or web. Okay, analysis and interpretation is, what do you say in the report? What is your information like? Is it valid? Is it factual? Okay, what kind of societal effects did you find? Okay, are they valid, factual, etc.? Okay, communication, when I read your essay, does it make sense? Okay, when I read it, I can follow your ideas. Your ideas are well connected. They kind of segue into one another. It's not like bullet, 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 and they're not related at all. Okay, if your whole thing is point form, your communication mark will likely suffer because you're not connecting your ideas. Okay, you need to find a way to connect your ideas together. Research and investigation, that's your bibliography. Okay, you have at minimum of 5 references in the right format that I showed you right here. And then lastly, overall, format, creativity, quality. All right, if when I read your report, I think, my 8-year-old could have done this. That's not good. Okay. If it's full of spelling mistakes and stuff like that, that's not going to bode well. Okay. Make it seem like 15, 16-year-old, okay, wrote this, use proper scientific language, right? That kind of thing. Are pictures a good idea? Yep. Definitely put pictures in there. They need to be related to what you're talking about. Okay, don't like put a picture of a gopher in there, okay, or something like that if you're talking about other things. Okay, yeah. So diagrams, pictures, charts that kind of fit with your ideas are always a good idea. Okay, those kind of things go well in the overall part of this too. Okay. All right. Any questions on what we're doing? All right. You got the rest of class today and all of class tomorrow to work on this. Okay. There's there's not going to be a quiz on Thursday either, right? Because I'm not going to be starting the next unit until Thursday. So we have today and tomorrow to work on this in class. After that, it's on you. Okay. But the due date is 2 weeks from today.